Hello, and welcome to the Todd and Taylor Show. I'm Todd A.
I'm Taylor Trask.
Welcome, Taylor.
Welcome, Todd.
We're doing a really special episode today. They're all special, but this one was by request of our friend Brian, who has been a guest on this podcast and a fairly regular contributor to Wednesdays in Westeros.
That's right.
And Brian suggested that we do an entire 2017 movie recap. So we're going to talk about what we've seen and what we're anticipating that's coming up. And obviously that's a lot of movies. And we're just going to jump into it with the latest movie that we've seen.
So this is we're going to talk about, well, I guess what we'll do is we'll name check pretty much everything. And, some of these we don't give two craps about. So we'll just, we'll go fast.
Yeah, we might not name check everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
I skipped our talking point that I was specifically told to address, which is that you and I both do a podcast called American Gods Cast that we just started during the season of American Gods, and directly after that, we will start our Wednesday in Westeros podcast up again, where we talk about Game of Thrones, obviously. Hopefully.
Yep.
And so this is probably going to be the Todd and Taylor episodes will be few and far between, if not non-existent, for the next couple of months. So this was a great way to kind of wrap up and look forward, and then we'll regroup in a couple months and catch up on all the movies at that point.
That's right. Yeah. It would be cool to go back and see like what we've seen, what we liked, what we were surprised by, all that kind of good stuff. Yeah.
I hope no one hears me banging into my microphone, which I've now done twice. My apologies.
You're fine.
Cool. Well, let's jump right into this with the last movie that we both saw.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Yeah, the big one. Yeah, this is probably the tentpole movie of the summer. Clearly, Disney's banking on that. Of
the summer? Are we already in summer movies?
Dude, March begins summer now. Like once both Hunger Games and then like Batman v Superman put their stake in March. I think that was kind of even like didn't Winter Soldier come out in March or April? So I feel like that
was early. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe not Winter Soldier, but Civil War, I think.
Civil War. I think it might, because I remember skiing. I rember there being snow on the ground when I went to Winter Soldier. Anyway, beside the point, I feel like this is the that first May weekend has traditionally been like the Marvel weekend. Even going back, I was remembering when Spider-Man 1, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, like back in 2002, that was a May 3rd or 4th release. So Marvel's like traditionally like held court on that week, as far back as I can remember. So it's nice to see like Guardians kind of own that spot, because I think last time they were out, it was 2014. It was 2014. I think it was an August release, wasn't it? July or August?
It seemed like it.
They were
terrible at recalling what dates I saw things.
They weren't quite sure about it though. Like I remember they put it in August, almost like, well, if this doesn't work, we'll just say, hey, it really wasn't. It's almost like they didn't know if it was going to work out or not. And then like when it totally did, they're like, well, this is our new franchise, I guess, going forward.
Yeah. I mean, so what did you think of it? What's like
I enjoyed it. It's never gonna match the first one in terms of like that fresh feeling of like, wow. So it's the challenge of seeing something that you're like, what you're getting. So they had to kind of mine a different. They had to try to do their best to give us a little something different, and maybe that's where it would struggle for me from time to time.
Boy, I would not disagree with you more.
Ooh, well, wait. There's a caveat with that. I would say the biggest problem I had, and because I enjoyed it, the jokes were great. Kurt Russell was fun. Like there's a twist in his character that I didn't see coming. Strangely enough, usually I do. The thing that bugged me though. Oh, and by the way, Michael Rooker and Yondu, like the whole goddamn thing should just be called Yondu the movie, because it's basically his. It's his, and he takes every advantage of it, acting wise, character wise.
Which is the thing I didn't see coming.
Right? Like, and there's so much more, and there's so much to spoil, so we won't. But like, the big thing that disappointed me was there was absolutely no connective tissue to Infinity War.
Yeah, I love that part.
Nothing. And I was thinking, okay, we're a year away to the day. Infinity War 1 comes out first week of May next year. We only have this Spider-Man and Ragnarok to get us to where that makes sense. And I thought, okay, surely there will be some kind of like sub story, or even like a substantial like coda scene or something. Thanos didn't even appear once. They didn't even talk about Infinity Gems hardly at all. Like it was just. It was just like a standalone movie. This is almost a movie that could have occurred after Infinity War. Like you don't even.
See, that is all I wanted to see, and I'm pretty sure we talked about this on the podcast. But I thought Guardians of the Galaxy 1, the weak spots for me were when it sort of switched gears to pull in Thanos or talk like something would be kind of dropped about an Infinity Stone, and I was like, boo, just like keep the pace going, like keep this adventure going. And so I thought this was an absolutely perfect movie. I was kind of racking my brain when I got out, like what other perfect movies have I seen where I wasn't bored for 1 second? I thought dialogue, acting, action, the cinematography, like everything worked for me. So
we're talking about Galaxy 2, right? Because
Galaxy 2.
You said you disagreed, so I thought you were going to go on a more negative.
No. I'm saying like this is perfect.
Okay.
I think it was better than the first one. I get that it couldn't have existed without the first one introducing that universe and getting us to buy into it. But this one took full advantage of that and just put the, pedal to the metal. And like, I just seriously, I mean, I was giddy through the whole movie.
Nice.
And I was operating on like very little sleep.
Well, let me reframe that, because it made, but now by comparison, I sound like I'm almost too dour on it. Like I enjoyed it, greatly enjoyed it. I just feel like there was just that feeling of like when you see something for the first time and it's that special, there's just that extra heightened feeling of like, oh my God, we're seeing history begin here. And then so to come back to that world, it's all very familiar and comfortable and it's cozy, but it's always going to lack that little something. But that doesn't mean I didn't enjoy it. I mean, I loved the hell out of it. It was great. It did everything it needed to do, I feel like. So
no, I think that's a really great point too, because so many times a sequel or any subsequent movie that involves some of those characters. And I'm saying that in a way so that it's like, if we're talking about like an Avengers movie where it's not strictly an Iron Man movie or something, a lot of times we kind of assume, well, we already know these characters and we already know how they interact. And it's sort of like the writing kind of suffers there. And this one, I could not keep up with the jokes. Like I would be laughing at something and then I would hear half a line that was even funnier. I mean, just stuff like when Drax turns around, like when Gamora runs out and says something like, I don't know, she's got to talk to him all of a sudden. He's like, what are you doing, Drax? And I'm just talking to this gross bug lady. And it's like so quick that he says it. And they've already made another, bug lady joke right before that. And then he's going to say it again in a minute. But that one, just those quick little lines. And again, I'll try not to spoil any other jokes or anything, but I just thought it was so perfectly timed. And so I really appreciate your point of like, we had to, you got the excitement of that first movie. And I definitely did too. And this one I was excited because of, it was such a great follow-up to that. And I mean, just if we're talking like not, because we are recording this the week it comes out, or it just came out. So we don't want to.
Yeah. I don't want to
give everybody a chance to see it, because definitely the surprise of it is so perfect. So
there's some spoilery moments that will ruin it if we get too far down
right, exactly. I don't even want to give away like the like the kind of funny Easter eggs and stuff that we see, but I mean, I was just thoroughly entertained. So absolutely. I will go see it again this weekend if anyone wants to come with me.
Nice. There you go. All you young ladies out there, I think that's an invitation. So
yeah.
Find Todd at Twitter.
Middle-aged women too. Let's be honest.
That's right. Well, what we're doing. We've actually just typed in 2017 movie releases into Google, and at the very top there is a list of posters. We're just going to go through that list. So we're not necessarily going to go in order, but it'll be interesting. Next is Alien Covenant, the sequel to Prometheus, which was divisive. I have heard early reviews, and they are not good.
Really,
to say it mildly.
So what did you think about Prometheus?
I was never a big Aliens fan. Like I'm just not. I appreciate the first one. I appreciate the words. Oh, I know. That's just more of a personal thing. Like I can definitely appreciate the very first one and the craft that went into it. I'm not a big fan of the story. But like, I mean, if you know Jodorowsky's Dune, like a lot of that team went on to make Alien together because they met on the set of Dune. So, Geiger and O'Bannon and all those guys, Dan O'Bannon wrote it, or co-wrote it, I should say. So I appreciate it, but Prometheus for me just kind of felt like a turd. It was boring in parts. So I wasn't going to see Covenant, but now I'm probably never going to see Covenant just because everybody's like, why does this movie exist? Like, it doesn't do anything to further the mythos. It just is like a rehash of Prometheus. And I'm like, okay.
Interesting. Next. Well, I definitely, I had that experience that I have with a lot of movies. Age of Ultron is probably another great one that comes to mind, where when I was in Prometheus, I was enwrapped. Like I was into it. I was so into that movie. And even when I stepped out, I was like, oh my God, that just blew my mind. But as time kind of went on, there was never an urge for me to revisit it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So
it's exactly like Age of Ultron. It's had the same feeling.
Do you think I will? I mean, I'll see Alien Covenant. But it's definitely not something I'm going to be as excited about as other movies. I'm a middle of the road Alien fan, I guess.
It's worth noting Ridley Scott did direct this as he did Prometheus, and we're going to get to it in a minute, but he did not direct the Blade Runner sequel that's coming out. And I think there is something to be said about, I think a lot of people who are looking at both of these movies are going, hey, wait a second. When he doesn't direct, it actually kind of works out better. I
mean, I honestly, the trailers I've seen, I'm excited by. So I'll leave it at that. Like, I think they look cool. Fassbender, you know.
Yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man Tell No Tales. Is that the correct title? Yeah, Dead Man Tell No Tales.
I've never seen a Pirates of the Caribbean, as I call it, movie in the theater, but I have now caught up on all of them.
Nice.
So,
I saw the last 3. I didn't see the first one in the theaters. Saw the last 3, and I'll just be honest, like the only reason I would see them in the theaters is because the Hans Zimmer soundtrack is so damn good. I just go to like listen to it on a cool sound system, and it's almost like there's like this music video to accompany it. That's really the only reason. Like I don't know why this movie needs to exist other than just
they're all very interchangeable. I couldn't tell you what happens in any of them as opposed to any other one of them. So I don't know that I'll see it in the theater. But I don't know. It's another franchise where they could just they could keep churning these out until, you know.
Yeah. Until Johnny Depp. I mean,
Johnny Depp is Keith Richards' age.
Yeah, exactly. And then they'll, he'll have a son, and it'll keep going on. Javier Bardem is in this, and there's shots of Orlando Bloom coming back, which God help us, So it seems like it's actually going to be connected more to the first 3, more so than the fourth one was. But I think the fourth one, the one that came, the last time out, was actually the best one.
We should. That's a good thing to clarify right now. This is number 8, right?
No, 5. This isn't Fast and Furious. No, it's the 5th one, but it's starting to feel like that, isn't it? It's like, wait, are they in Tokyo this time? Like, which one?
No idea how many of these movies they've made. It's like the Harry Potter movies. Like when I was sat down and made to watch all of those, and they were over, and I couldn't distinguish one from another, and I was like,
"Oh, no, those are fighting words. Those are fighting. Oh God, there's another podcast right there." The Todd and Taylor Show will be back in July for the Harry Potter Smackdown Spectacular. Tune in as we school Todd on the intricacies of the Potterverse. Anyway, what's next up on the list, sir?
What's it? Dunkirk.
Dunkirk. Yeah.
I mean, I'm thrilled about this. I saw that, the first trailer that I saw was attached to Rogue One, and I was seeing that in IMAX, and this thing was so mother effing loud. Like it was insane. It started with this like heartbeat. I don't know if it was an actual heartbeat sound or if it was just like a raid siren or something, but it was this pulsing thing. And I'd seen Rogue One with my dad. We were both in the IMAX, and he was like just not freaked out by it, but he was so off put by it. Like that is just, he did not want to know from Dunkirk at that moment. He was like, my God, that was too loud. It sort of took him out of the whole thing. And I was thinking like, oh, it's going to be this really gritty World War II movie. My dad's really going to be interested in.
Yeah.
I mean, Christopher Nolan,
he's been working on it for a while too.
And I'm sure that he shot it on IMAX. So it's going to be in like huge 70 millimeter and,
we talked about this on another episode. Remember, Wally Pfizer is not with him. Wally Pfizer was his director of photography for everything. So I'll be very curious to see if this looks and feels like a Christopher Nolan movie. And I actually, on that same note, I don't think Wally Pfizer was on Interstellar either. And
that is correct. That's what we determined.
That's right. Because I didn't care for Interstellar. And I was just like, man. And I think that's why. I think Wally Pfizer, it's weird when Wally Pfizer went off to direct his own thing, that stupid Transcendence movie, also with Johnny Depp. Like, it looked great, but it fell flat. It's like those two guys, it's almost like George Lucas and who's his producer partner? Oh, God, his name. I can see his face clear as day.
Lawrence Kasdan?
Well, him, but there's another guy. There's like oh, Jesus. Anyway, as soon as that team split up, you can just tell like it's the sum of the parts is greater than the whole, you know what I'm saying. So I feel like, and I'm sure it'll be amazing. I'm sure it'll like win every Oscar ever. It's interesting they're putting it out in July. It almost feels like a prestige like December movie.
That's
like
honestly,
you know?
That's what I thought it was. And when we looked up this list, I was kind of surprised myself at like, why is that right here in the middle of all these summer movies? You know?
Yeah. So
it is the I would mispronounce his name, but it's Hoyt van Hoytema, who is the DP on this, and he was on Interstellar, but also on Her and The Fighter and Let the Right One In.
He did Her too. Ooh.
Yeah. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Holy crap!
So, and I like a lot of his work.
Yeah.
So,
holy shit! I didn't pay any attention to who he was. Wow. Because I love. Oh god, the cinematography on Tinker Tailor is one of my favorite things about it.
Yeah.
That thing was shot beautifully, and Her too. I mean, Her is gorgeous to look at as well. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Very different feel of film. If you look at like Interstellar to Her to Tinker Tailor, those all look so different. So, and maybe that's why
he divorced Wally Pfizer, because like it's almost like all the Nolan movies, you know, as good as they are, and I appreciate this fact, but they're all part of the same look and feel. Like they didn't go out of that box. I think that served them well. And maybe Nolan was just like, hey man, we need to expand my visual palette.
Yeah. And probably Interstellar was the movie to do it on, you know?
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. Going back in time, we have Beauty and the Beast, which came out back in March, finally, after 2 years worth of goddamn trailers that are like, it's coming. It's like, it finally happened.
Did you see this movie?
I didn't, but my girlfriend did. She loved it. Basically, from what I've been told, Gaston better get a spin-off sequel or there's no justice in the world. Apparently, Luke Evans stole the whole damn thing.
Wow. Then as the Google flies, we have a movie that you and I just discovered today that we were both excited about, which is King Arthur, The Legend of the Sword.
So, okay, let's rewind. Up until a week ago, I didn't give two shits about this movie. Like, I'd see the trailers, I'm like, and it's Guy Ritchie. And you got to remind yourself of one important fact. Guy Ritchie directed the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movie, and then that sequel, which was subpar. But the first one, I love that movie. I love everything about it. The soundtrack, the tone, the pacing. It's very much it is a rock'em sock'em Sherlock Holmes, but just everything about it worked so well. So damn fun. Like there's just a sense of energy to it that I really liked. Yeah. So I forget that. So when I see Guy Ritchie, I'm always thinking about like those, like, you know,
Snatched and
all that stuff. So it's, and then not that there's a problem
Swept
with that.
Away that he did with Madonna.
Yeah. Jesus. Yeah. So I was just kind of writing this one off. This would have been another like pass. However, 2 reviews I saw today, one on IO9 and I can't remember where the other one was. Pre-reviews, people who saw it early are saying this might be the most fun movie of the summer. Like, it has its problems, but what it does, it works really well. And Guy Ritchie almost has like a conscience, a notion that when it's not working, he course corrects. So it's like
out this week.
It's out Friday. I'm gonna go see it in the theater. I was not, and I saw these reviews, and they're like, and then the thing that really sold me, somebody in the comment section who had also seen it as an early screener said, if you liked Kingsman, it's not the same kind of movie, but it gives you that same feeling of like raw discovery, like holy crap, because trailers really haven't given you a lot of information. It's kind of been the same thing the whole time, and they saw it going I guess, and then they came out going holy shit. So I'm gonna give it a chance.
Well, I am glad you brought up the Sherlock Holmes movies, because I do appreciate that Guy Ritchie is finally reminding the world about the ancient English art of ninjutsu. And so he had the Sherlock Holmes era where they were a little bit more dapper ninjas. Yep. So I'm glad he's really taking it back to the source, so we can finally, learn about the sword wielding that they did back then. So
I don't know, man. Charlie Hunnam, though, I mean, I love Pacific Rim, but Charlie Hunnam was not the strongest thing in Pacific Rim by a long shot. So I'll be curious to see how he carries a movie as the lead, because he's Arthur.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've never quite. Yeah, he's never stolen the show for me. I think he's solid, but I'll be interested in that.
Do you know what I was worried about? Let me one more reference. When I first saw the trailers to this, I was worried it was just going to be another freaking sort of like version of, remember that King Arthur movie that came out like in 2004 with Clive Owen and others?
Vaguely.
Oh, it was so bad. It was so
big
terrible.
names attached to it too, I believe.
Yeah, it was a big movie. I think it was this big summer movie. It was so bad. It was so terrible. Keira Knightley, she was in it too.
Right.
And it was meant to be sort of a more loyal, like, historically accurate retelling, but it just fell flat. And I was kind of thinking, oh God. And the other one that came to mind when I saw the trailers was that Robin Hood movie with oh God, what's his face?
Kevin Costner.
No, the good one. That's the good one. The bad one, the newest one with freaking, oh God. Anyway, the shitty Robin Hood movie that came out a couple years ago.
Okay.
So I was just I was surprised, let's just say, to find that this is being well received. Anyway.
Yeah. So next up, Thor Ragnarok.
Thor Ragnarok,
which is possibly the movie I'm most excited about, with the exception of one that we will get to in a few months down the calendar. In this, but man, I mean, I've only seen I guess there's really only been the one trailer.
Yep.
But I did see it in 3D ahead of Guardians last weekend, and was super excited about it. And then seeing Guardians and feeling like, wow, I never would have thought that the tone of the Thor world and the tone of Guardians would actually be the easiest, like, integration there.
Yeah.
Because now it's almost like, wow, Captain America is going to be the stiff one that's kind of hard to integrate with Guardians of the Galaxy, like Spider-Man, Iron Man, they'll all fit in. Thor and Hulk fit in. So I didn't see how that was going to go, but I'm thrilled about
I love that they're embracing. I mean, Guardians coming out and succeeding so well has really opened up their creative palette to make that are weird. I mean, they hired Jeff Goldblum to be the Grandmaster. And the quote there's two quotes that I freaking love about that casting. One, and I cannot pronounce the director's name to save my life.
Taika Waititi.
Ooh, well done. Taika Waititi said, he cast him, and then everybody's like, why isn't he blue? He's like, you don't cast Jeff Goldblum and put him in blue paint. Like, I basically cast him to have Jeff Goldblum be himself on set. And Jeff Goldblum, in response to being cast, said, this was such a fun movie. I give it 10 Goldblums out of 10 Goldblums. I'm just like, that alone made me smile and go, okay, I think, and I'm somebody who actually really liked the first Thor and actually really liked the Dark World. Like, I didn't hate it nearly as much as others seem to.
No, I actually like the Dark World more than the first Thor.
Yeah.
I think you and I texted about that. We never did a podcast on it. We should do an all Thor podcast.
We should. And Thor's the franchise that, I think even more than Captain America, like every movie, like there's no consistent, like, sort of design or style that's been carried through. Like Iron Man, you can definitely see that. Captain America, obviously the first one to the second one, but then, from Winter Soldier on, it's definitely kind of fit a tone. Thor, it's almost like they throw their papers in the air and start from scratch every time. Yeah. And that's maybe the only complaint I have. I think in some ways that's worked, it's served the directors who's helmed them. But this one seems like, all right, it's almost like Marvel's going, we're just going to roll the dice and do whatever is going to make fans happy, and just whatever weird thing. I mean, even the trailers the posters got the, like, video game Ragnarok on it. I'm very excited. And I hope, going back to the Guardians thing, this movie goddamn better well set up Infinity War in a way that's meaningful and not just like, oh, and by the way, Thanos at the very end.
Well, it's interesting that you have brought up the Infinity War tie-in, because now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there's a deleted scene from Age of Ultron where Thor is actually, like, kind of on a side quest that has to do with the Infinity Stone, and we just didn't even see it.
Oh, no, that was in. He goes into the lake, the lake, and has the weird, the psychedelic.
Well, maybe they cut it for time.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So another side note that every film nerd has definitely told you about, which is, if you have not seen Taika Waititi's What We Do in the Shadows, you should remedy that immediately. It's a really funny vampire movie that's shot in the sort of reality show style.
That's right. You've told me about this.
Yeah, starring his name literally just escaped me. Jermaine Clement from Flight of the Conchords. He and Taika have done a bunch of stuff together, I believe. And it also has Reese Darby, who is the manager of the Conchords.
Yes. Oh my God. I'm watching this tonight.
He's a werewolf in it. So it's like, prep yourself with that. And there's another Taika Waititi movie that I have not seen that I've heard highly recommended. And I'm sorry that I'm, like, quickly Googling this and am not on it quick enough to mention. But really interesting director, and look forward to that. Jumping into the past a little bit is the Fate of the Furious. I'm trying to pronounce the number in the title.
F8.
The Fate. Did you see this?
No, I've not. I truth be told, I haven't seen any of them.
All right. I was with you 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And not only have I found, so there's a podcast I listen to called How Did This Get Made with Paul Scheer and Jason Mantzoukas and June Dan Raphael. And every time they do a Fast and the Furious movie, they get Adam Scott as their guest. Okay. And they generally, the point of that show is this movie is terrible. How did it get made? But Fast and the Furious, yes, they agree like there's stuff that they're laughing at the whole time because it's so crazy, but they all love them. So their enthusiasm combined with the very sober, maybe not enthusiasm, but sober appraisal and appreciation from the Storm of Spoilers crew really convinced me like, I think I'm missing out on something. And then when I heard How Did This Get Made do the F8 episode, and June Diane Raphael mentioned that she found Vin Diesel hotter and someone she would be more likely to want to sleep with than The Rock. I was fascinated, and I did a quick survey and was shocked that female friends agreed with this sentiment. Yeah. Because no offense to Vin Diesel, who is great at what he does, but
he's Groot.
My man's, my very dull heterosexual man's opinion on Vin Diesel is I just thought everyone thought he was kind of like, not. I don't know. I just didn't think he was the hot one. I was shocked. So I went and watched 5, 6, and 7 over a 4-day span. And I am absolutely going to see The Fate of the Furious before it leaves theaters.
Wow. Holy crap.
They are so unbelievable. I mean, I laugh out loud so much at them.
I think that's part of the it seems as though they know enough about what these movies are that they don't take them so seriously. They're like, we know what this is. We know why you're here. Like, it just kind of has that quality to it, which I appreciate. Like, good Lord, they've made 8 of them and they're just like money. They just print money every time. So you gotta,
The thing that really sold it for me was on Storm of Spoilers, Neil Miller, who runs Film School Rejects, explained, how did he put it? He said, I see Fast 8 as the first movie in the last trilogy. Whoa. And then both of them were explaining that 5, 6, 7, and 8 have had the same writer. Now the directors have changed, but basically what I take from that is that 1 through 4 did not have the sort of like extreme measures of the next of 5, 6, 7, 8. And they also there was all this like crazy stuff. Like Vin left the franchise after the first one. Yep. And so there was like a one that was just like Paul Walker and
was that Tokyo Drift?
No. There's one that was just those two. Then maybe they did Tokyo Drift 3rd. And then Vin Diesel's at the very end of that. And then he came back into another movie that's called The Fast and the Furious or something like that. I don't know. It's so freaking confusing. And the friends that I polled about the hotness of The Rock versus Vin, we all sat there on like Wikipedia arguing like the timeline of this. And How Did This Get Made has done it. So check out all those episodes if you really want to figure that out. Check out those podcasts. But basically, Storm of Spoilers sold me on like, no, they unified it with 5 going forward. So... And there really is this feeling of like they figured out the tone and they are human superheroes. There are no origin stories about like they don't have any special powers supposedly, but they do such crazy shit that, I mean, like not just the cars, like there's humans flying through the air and stuff like that. And it's so ridiculous.
I want to know how the hell Charlize Theron is a car wizard or whatever the hell she is. Because if you look at the trailer and she's just like operating some kind of like control center where she can basically do, send an entire army of
she cars has a drone car army after people. I don't know. She got all that training on the Italian Job. So
maybe this is the secret unofficial sequel to the Italian. I should go into it thinking that and just see if that enhances my experience.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was on these 2 different podcasts that one person pointed out, isn't it bold that they just gave her the same hairstyle that Angelina Jolie had in Gone in 60 Seconds, which was another car stealing movie. Yeah. And And then I think it was on another podcast, someone pointed out, like, well, she already did this movie. It was called The Italian Job. Like, but the thing about the Fast and the Furious is you don't really know what's like meta kind of joke or what's just like a dull, like not dull, but a just very obvious, like, yeah, she's already done it. Let's just put her together. We get the hair from Angelina and get her from Italian Job and put her together.
It feels like
and she's in Mad Max. You know, it's like,
oh yeah. Well, I mean, she's awesome. It feels like what's happened though is that Fast and Furious is basically what Mission Impossible is becoming. Is just this like cool collection of people.
That is a great point.
Do these crazy like because I was as you were saying like human superheroes without powers. I'm like it's kind of what freaking Ethan Hunt has been this entire time. Oh, interesting.
Right.
And like you could argue like. Most of the last 2 or 3 Mission Impossibles just kind of bleed together, but they're consistent, you know. So it's just like I think it's, and I enjoy those. So it's
Anyway, I say check them out. They're definitely worth a rent. I will go see F8 in the theater. If you end up seeing them, we can do a whole episode on just Fast and Furious. But I'm probably not going to go to 1 through 4 at a time. I don't care about those. Let's jump to another franchise that's made way too many movies. Transformers.
Well, wait. Oh, no. We skipped a really important one. Is it not on your list?
Oh, did we?
Yeah. Well, it's next on my list because Transformers is right after this. But next on my list is Blade Runner 2049.
Oh, that's in the flip-flopped on mine.
Interesting. Well, which one do you want to do first?
Well, let's say Transformers because we can just sync it. We'll skip that one pretty quickly.
Okay.
The only relevant detail, first of all, we both talked about the trailer to Transformers. I think you and I both saw this edited trailer. We had seen one, and then we saw this other trailer where it was this little girl telling a story of like, they would say I fight like a girl, and then it cuts all these scenes, and she's doing this monologue, and at the end she's like, yeah, I do fight like a girl, don't you, or something like that. And it was so kick ass, that I was briefly invested in this idea, but mostly I took away with like, put her in a better action movie, and I will see it.
Well. And between that and the other trailers have had Anthony Hopkins giving this really dramatic monologue and shit. It seems like this movie is like 6 other amazing movies that don't need Transformers in them. Like it's almost like it's jarring that because like you see the shit and then all of a sudden like a robot foot stamps into frame. You're like, why is this here?
Yeah, could they have just called it like Robot Planet and it would have been more awesome? Like I don't.
Dude, I want to see Robot Planet now
with Anthony Hopkins and that little girl.
Yes. Oh God, I would have seen that. It could have kept the entire storyline the same, just changed the like look of the robots a little bit.
I don't have them transform. It's so stupid.
Well, and it's like, oh my God, you just fixed this movie for me. I want to see Robot Planet.
So after you finish your Hobbit edit,
yes,
you go edit the Transformers movies so they never transform and they're just giant robots that live amongst the humans. That would be really interesting.
Oh man,
they don't need to turn into cars. Like their secret's out. You can stop transforming.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point. Like, who are you hiding from at this juncture? You know what? Truth be told, the original Transformers movie came out in 2006 of this Michael Bay run. I'm not talking. I acknowledge the animated movie was obviously first. But the Michael Bay movies came out in 2006, and I actually really liked that first one. The soundtrack is killer. The soundtrack does not deserve that movie. Let me just put that out there.
I didn't really like any of them, but as I recall, that one, man,
that one was the most.
This is a
fun.
Really qualified word that I'm about to use. That was the best.
Well, it's the one that sort of didn't take itself too seriously. It still actually dealt in Transformers lore, from the cartoon or the comics. So it's like, and they had to transform to protect their identity. So like it all kind of made sense. And since then, like I don't need to see Optimus Prime riding atop a transforming dinosaur wielding a giant sword.
Has that happened already? Or is that in this one?
I don't know anymore. I've lost
dinosaurs in this one, I'm pretty sure.
Oh Christ, who knows? Anyway,
there was like a flashback thing to the War of Cybertron or something that had the Dinobots in it, I believe. I don't know. It's not
a pass for me. It's a
not
pass for me.
Yeah, exactly. So Blade Runner 2049. Let's
not a pass for me. Not in the slightest.
New trailer looks so awesome.
Jesus Christ. Okay, so let's put it on Front Street. Denis Villeneuve. Denis. Sorry. I'm going to leave all pronunciations to you.
I don't really know that. I just, as we talked about this, he directed Arrival.
Yes.
And I only know that French name is pronounced that way because there's a Blondie song called Denis.
Ah, okay. So if you've seen Arrival like we have, and you love Arrival like we have, I am in the bag for this movie out of the gate. I like the original Blade Runner, but I felt like that's a movie that needed to be made later, because I think it's sort of I'm going to get assassinated for saying this, but I feel like the original Blade Runner suffers because it had like all those different endings and shit, and nobody knows what the real ending actually should be. So it didn't have like the creative confidence of either the studio, the director, or the studio to say, hey, here's what the director envisioned, here's what it's going to be, we're not going to fuck with it. The other side of it is, though, there's some elements of it that feel like if it was in anything after 2005, it could have embraced what it wanted to be a little bit more. I think it kind of almost felt like it was almost so avant-garde for 1984 that it's just like, it almost felt like a movie from another reality. And I think, given time, you appreciate it more, but then given time, you're like, man, I wish they would have fixed this. It's a movie that I'm going to get assassinated for this. I almost wish they'd go back and sort of George Lucas some of the things.
No, don't say that.
Because like the technology, it's almost like they knew what it was going to be, but they didn't quite know how to execute it. And I see this trailer and go, ooh, this is the world this is what I'm wanting. Like, this is the world I want to buy into.
I agree with that. And I have a weird history with Blade Runner, which is way back in like right around 84, right after that. I mean, it was probably 86 or so. I think I did a comic book trade and somebody gave me their copy of Blade Runner, which was basically like, it wasn't a graphic novel, but it was like a single issue retelling of the story, where everyone was drawn to look like the film. And so I had read that like over and over, and like, it didn't make any sense. It was like, like a manga to me or something. Like I was like, I just, this world is disconnected from all this stuff. I didn't actually see Blade Runner until the director's cut was re-released in theaters in 92 or 93.
Okay.
And then I went to see it. So that is still the only version I've ever seen of Blade Runner. So I don't even know I mean, I've read the controversy about the endings and stuff like that. And a narration that was added or taken away or something. Yeah. And so I can't imagine what the confusion is. To me, it's almost like they did George Lucas it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And maybe
the other thing this reminds me of is a Tron and Tron Legacy, because the original Tron was like very much beloved, but definitely a product of the time. And it's like if that story could have had access to 2017 technology, or in the case of Tron Legacy, 2010 technology, it could have. And so I'm in the bag for Tron Legacy. I love that movie. I mean, a lot of people shit on it, but it's like, I love that movie. I freaking love it. And it's made me have a retroactive appreciation for that first one in a way I never thought I would. So and I appreciate Blade Runner immensely, but I feel like I will want to go back and rewatch the original a couple times after seeing this.
Well, and I was, though that's an awesome point. And I was pretty, I mean, I appreciate the weight of the ideas in Blade Runner, the original, like the original movie and the original, like the whole story as itself. But like for fun, I always felt like Minority Report was that kind of reboot of it, because they're both based on Philip K. Dick stories. So when Minority Report came out, and I was like late to the game on that one, like I rented it or saw it on DVD or Blu-ray or something, and I was so into it, and it was kind of like I haven't felt that kind of excitement about the original Blade Runner. So now I am feeling that about this new one. And the new trailer we just saw this week looks amazing. And we should point out, Denis Villeneuve also did Sicario, which is one of the most fucking tense movies I've ever seen. That thing is so difficult to watch. Just the menace that is around any corner and throughout the whole movie is, oh my God, it's terrifying.
Well, and he has been tapped to direct Dune. So this dude,
that's right.
This is a guy with visual style up, in space.
Yeah. I brought up Sicario, like he's not a wild ideas guy only. That's like only a sci-fi guy. And so if this new Blade Runner has that gritty, like street cop feel of Sicario, along with, the sci-fi ideas of like Arrival and stuff, it's, oh my God, it's just going to slap.
I'm going to make a bold claim. Denis Villeneuve is the new Christopher Nolan.
I mean, I wouldn't argue with that.
He's building a career that's very similar, and he's becoming known for very specific quality kinds of things. And I feel like this it's not going to match exactly, but he's being offered things, and his career is kind of being crafted in a similar sort of way. So keep an eye on this guy. Definitely.
Yeah, should we even hit the next movie that's on this list?
God, no, because I hate Amy Schumer, so no.
You know what just occurred to me though while we were looking at this poster is she the Dane Cook of the last couple years?
Yes. Let's put that in writing. I want that on a T-shirt. Amy, on her face is the Dane Cook, and we can look forward 10 years from now. She will be the slimy, cheating girlfriend in a American Gods kind of TV show where she dies right off.
The other thing is like, so I mean, not to give this too much airtime, she's in a movie called Snatch with Goldie Hawn, which I saw the trailer for, along with the trailer to another movie that's coming out. We'll just scratch this off the list right here, called Rough Night, which has I think Kirsten Dunst is in that with some other people. Or no. Scarlett Johansson's in it. Anyway, it's both of them are like kind of, hangover sort of movies where something like so horrifying happens, but they're trying to make a comedy out of it. And at least from the trailers, both of them, I was like, wow, that's too far. Yeah. Like there's sort of an accidental death in both of them. Jesus. And I just felt like, yeah, you can't recover from that. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in this, especially when, it's just a bunch of bad people doing bad things.
Yeah.
Once you start, covering up deaths that you're responsible for, like of innocent people, it's like, man, I'm not on board. But anyway, that's all we'll say about that and Rough Night.
Yep.
We should save this last one for the end, though, because that is coming out at the end of the year, and we are.
Which one are you talking about? What's next on your list? Because the next on mine is Circle.
Oh, let's hit that one.
Let's do it. Now, before you jump in, this is a movie that I saw a trailer for. When was it? Good. It was a while ago. No, it was back during King Kong, when I saw King Kong a month or so ago.
But you talked about it way before that.
Now you're right. What did I see? Anyway, I saw some trailer
before Rogue One.
Yes. I think you're right. You are right. Yep. And so like the trailer for that came out and it looked compelling as hell. And you're like, oh my God, Tom Hanks is a villain kind of character. Patton Oswalt is his henchman. That may or may not.
It was Logan. It was Logan. We saw
Logan. Yes, thank you. You're right. No, you're right. I knew it was something.
I knew Rogue One was too far away.
No, so I saw that trailer and I thought this looks interesting. I didn't know if Emma Watson could carry it.
Yeah.
By herself. And I'm like, Tom Hanks is there. He's, trusting Hanks, and was really excited. I had it on my schedule.
John Boyega.
Yeah. Everything looked like it was going right. It looked like a 2017 updated version of The Net starring Sandra Bullock. Right.
Which is funny because you told me that and I was like, that sounds like a diss. And
I love The Net. After our Harry Potter.
When do you say that?
We're going to have the net reviewed in its entirety. Anyway, I was excited. I actually ended up not seeing it opening night or the week that I wanted to. You did. I did. And what did you think?
Not good. Not a good movie. But it has nothing to do with Emma Watson or Patton Oswalt or any of the other fine cast. It is just badly written.
That's
like
bad.
The shortest way to put it. And it's not the actual person-to-person dialogue. It's just that the story is poorly structured. Like there's just not a great, there's not a good like act flow,
Yeah.
And what shocked me was I had heard of the book years ago. It's by Dave Eggers, and a friend had recommended it to me. I was shocked when this ended, and I saw that Dave Eggers and someone else did the screenplay, and it was like a real disappointment when I saw that. It was not a good movie. It did not go. It should have been, it should have been The Social Network, the movie, like with a very dystopian ending. Like that's basically what they're doing, and they just didn't handle it well. There was never. This is the only thing I want to say because I definitely wanted to write something or say something about this. There's never any opposition to the idea, like the central idea of the movie, to like the Tom Hanks corporate idea of the circle. And like, I got a little bit of that. So a thing I brought up like 2 years ago or whenever we did Jurassic World was I said, the only tiny complaint I have about this is what really made Jurassic Park movies work was Jeff Goldblum being the skeptic, always contradicting the main thesis of the protagonist, which
it sounds like we're getting back, by the way. The next one exactly that. So
Chris Pratt's character was a pretty good job. Owen, I believe his name was. I'm killing with the names tonight. And he was was the voice of reason in Jurassic World, it just wasn't as strongly, enunciated as Jeff Goldblum did. And The Circle has no one doing that. Like, there's like peripheral characters that object only because their lives are being ruined. But they're nobody that like within the, there's like, actually there's a main character who objects to it, but she never explains why. She just disappears. Weird. So it just, the whole thing was, it's real bad. Don't see this. I'm sorry. That's real. We usually try to cover only movies that we're excited about, but that one I'll just say.
That's a good, no, but that's a cautionary tale, because it's something, if I didn't know you or had heard that, I would have gone and seen it and would have wasted my 2 hours and felt like, we need to put it out there in the marketplace that some of these things look interesting but are not. Let's just go in the order of this list. I see Star Wars: The Last Jedi next.
Well, that's the one I was trying to leave till the end, but I mean, we might as well mention it.
Let's talk about it.
Saw the 3D trailer before Guardians and was more excited. I mean,
I can't wait to see what Luke Skywalker does. I think, we were teased an entire movie and had to wait 3 years. 3 years? 2 years.
Right. And it was just, he didn't even say a word.
He didn't say anything. I want to see that dude like move a planet, or I want to see how strong he actually is. And I want to see what he does if confronted by Kylo Ren. I want that. That could be the entire movie and I would be completely happy. But obviously everything else is, it's going to be exciting.
One weird conspiracy thing here. Well, I'll say one thing first. I am more excited by the spaceships and crafts in this than I definitely was in the last two movies. Even though I love those, like 10 out of 10 for Rogue One and Force Awakens. This is like an 11 out of 10 just for that one scene of them speeding across that like white desert and kicking up that red dust.
Yeah.
But I've just never been so into the ships as this. Like, I don't know why. It's just, that's what I take away from that trailer every time. It's like, oh my God, those ships. Like,
well, do you know why? Because you've got an entire generation of designers, prop builders, etc., who grew up being fans of that stuff. So it's like they honor it, but they care about it even like, because keep in mind the guys who made the original Star Wars ships, they were excited about it, but they were exhausted because a lot of the shit they'd never done before. So they weren't, they couldn't sit there and like, geek out over every little detail like we can now because we have all that history to build from. So
and the prequels were like, hey, here's a crazy ship that looks like it could never exist anywhere. It just has a bunch of points on it, and we'll copy paste this a million times onto the frame so that there's a whole armada of them. Let's but so anyway, my tiny theory to stick out there is in the trailer we've seen of Last Jedi, we hear Luke say it's time for the Jedi to end. And I'm just wondering if they're playing a joke on us and they cut off something like to end this terrible war.
Oh yeah, that could be.
I've watched it several times and I'm not convinced that is the end of that sentence every time.
Yeah, no, and that's it. We've seen that happen before. It's possible.
Yeah,
the fuckery abounds.
Yeah, I mean, I am definitely sure I heard Jen Erso say, "This is a rebellion. I rebel," and I've seen that movie like 5 times, and she never says it in the movie.
Yeah, that ain't it. That entire scene ain't it. There's so much of that movie that's like good Lord, Rogue One. I think there's an entire other movie left on the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we could not be more excited about The Last Jedi. Come the end of the year, we'll probably do a gigantic Star Wars recaps of everything and try to get all our friends involved. And totally. I mean, it's so awesome. Very, very
next on the list, though, for me, I don't know if on your side, The Mummy.
Well, did you like those movies?
Which it's not out yet.
I mean, isn't this just him picking up the Brendan Fraser torch?
No. This is a totally different take. Oh, good. I get to.
Man, I was so sure that Tom Cruise was taking over all of Brendan Fraser's franchises. I was looking for Encino Man, back to Encino, and
even Encino year. What was the other? He was in The Mummy. What was the other big thing he was in? That was like
was it a librarian? No, that's Noah Wyle.
No, Bedazzled. Bedazzled?
Oh, he's great in Bedazzled, yeah.
That one with the devil who's what's her name?
Elizabeth Hurley, yeah.
Yeah, so no. This is remember, Universal was pissed, even though they own Jurassic Park.
They're monsters.
They were getting mad because like we don't have a franchise in a shared universe. So they went back through their vaults and went, hey, we own all these old timey monsters. Let's do something. And I remember they announced that they were doing it. Everybody went, oh, really? Okay, good luck. And all of a sudden, Russell Crowe is showing up as like, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, or well, in this case, Dr. Jekyll. Like they're planting the seeds for it. And that actress from Kingsman with the shiny blade legs is the Mummy. So I'm like, holy crap, this might actually be decent. The biggest question I have, regardless of if I see it or not, does Tom Cruise become the Mummy at the end? Because you can't paint.
Clearly dies and then is resurrected. But
you can't have like this woman mummy who's like, this is the greatest threat the Earth's ever seen. And if you're going to unite the monsters at some point or fight them all, like if you're going to conquer her in this movie, she can't show up again. So what's the alternative other than, hey, they put him in bandages? Or it's probably, what I hope it's not. And this will be the sign that this whole thing is going to fall apart, is if he is the Mummy, but it's like a metaphorical thing because he's immortal. So he has like mummy-like abilities, but we're not going to put him in bandages or anything. It's just going to, or his eye gets poked out. So he has like a single bandage around his head or something. It's like some dumb workaround.
I'm with Jerry Seinfeld on this. Like you can't have a Frankenstein without the sport jacket that's a little too small. And you can't have a mummy that's not wrapped in bandages.
It's like, come on, man. So it'll be curious. I don't know if I'll see it. I'll keep an eye. If reviews are good, I might show up. But probably rent it at least.
Yeah. Back on this list, there are like 5 in front of me that I have no comment about. And then
I'll give you a fast little 1 to 2 words each. Right? Gifted. Never heard of it.
Yeah, never.
Boss Baby. Why was that a thing? Apparently came out, did well. I didn't even know it existed. Going in Style.
Actually
interesting.
My parents enjoyed it. I believe Zach Braff directed it.
He directed it?
That's what I heard, and it's based on an older movie that had Art Carney and George Burns in it.
Okay.
And I told my parents about that, and they rented that, and they were like, "Not as good." So, which was very shocking to me.
Huh.
Anyway,
Smurfs: The Lost Village. Who cares? Everything. Romantic movie. Romance, just as romance.
Whatever. Yeah.
How to Be a Latin Lover. I'm just gonna focus on this for a small second because normally I would just say who cares. However, they have been dumping their entire goddamn ad inventory on Hulu over the last 2 weeks. So every commercial that pops up is for this stupid movie. And I'm wondering who it's for. It's probably going to end up being like a Madea sized success and they'll make 10 more. So God help us. Yeah.
Huh. So,
someone out there's like, I was interested in that.
So Kong Skull Island, I was actually very, very into and just didn't make it out to see it. So I hope it's still playing. I would like to see
I saw it.
Yeah. Oh, what'd you think?
Yeah, I saw it back when I was in North Carolina. It's fun. It's good. It definitely has that same sort of feel of the Godzilla movie that came out a few years ago, which is good because they're meant to be connected. There's a connective tissue and there's a big sort of Nick Fury Avengers Initiative moment at the end of it, which is fun. I just, at some point you can only take Brie Larson and Tom Hiddleston seriously in this kind of thing. I wish they would have found somebody a little less obvious to play those roles. Because like what really was interesting was like John Goodman was in it and he was great. Yeah. Sam L. Jackson was like the bitchy, grumpy.
That's the guy I can't take seriously in those kind of movies.
Well, it's just like, I wish if they had cast it a little differently.
Get this motherfucking monkey off this motherfucking island.
You're not far off. He basically says a line that's very similar to that. So it's fine. I mean, the way they treat King Kong is really cool. And they sort of you might ask, you're like, how is a creature that size going to fight Godzilla, which is like 3 times as big? And they made a good point in the movie. They actually had a line that said, oh, he's still young, so he'll continue to grow. Oh, and Jesus. This was meant to take place in the 70s. So when they do, when they cut to modern day and they have to fight, my guess is he'll be bigger.
Cool.
Anyway,
well, I will still try to check that one out. And I'll absolutely check it out once it's on digital video.
Yeah, it's definitely a rental. I wouldn't see it in theater again if I had to do it.
Next one for me is Logan, which we did an entire episode about with our friend Emily Kelly.
Yep.
The only thing I would like to add to Logan, which we all loved, I was maybe the lone less excited person about it, but still loved it. But because of the timeliness of this episode, did you know it is being re-released in black and white next week?
I saw that, and I actually might go see it because it looks badass. It looks really good.
Yeah, it is in select theaters in black and white. I really didn't think I would see Logan again in the theater, but I will go see this in black and white. My only problem is it's only on a Tuesday evening, and it's a little bit of a trek for me to get there. But there is one at your Alamo Draft House in Littleton. So
they are going to release it on Blu-ray or digital too at some point. I heard like they're going.
That would make sense. And we have we talked about how Fury Road is in black and white as the Chrome edition, the black and Chrome edition?
Yes, I'm glad you. I was going to reference that, so I'm glad you did. Fury Road. While that seems like a good idea, the color palette is such a crucial component of that movie. It is not the same in black and white. I'm sorry. I've had designer friends argue to the death with me on this. So to each their own, but I just
wasn't the idea that Miller, am I right? The director, didn't he want it in black and white? And maybe I'm wrong on that.
I think in an early sort of conceptual meeting, he was thinking about it, but then realized.
Whereas Logan, I think, would work wonderfully in black and white.
I think it'd work even better in black.
So that is a bigger hook to me than anything else like that you could say about Logan. It's like that will almost like immortalize the movie.
Yeah.
So I should really try to make it to that. But anyway, if you hear this episode the week we release it, just Google Logan Noir or Logan Black and White, find a screening, go to it. Yeah. What's up next for you?
Get Out, which I saw at the
saw.
Tail end of its release. Thank God. And I was thinking, I'll rent it. And I just was like, nah, I probably should experience it in the theaters. And I'm so happy I did. Oh, wow.
Me too. I accidentally saw it on opening weekend. I'd read so much about it that I thought it had been out already for a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. I really enjoyed it. It's
Blumhouse can do no wrong at this point. Blumhouse has figured out movie making for the next 50 years. Like what was the budget on this? I think they made it for like $3 million.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah.
It was absurd. No, $4.5 million. They made it for $4.5 million and it's grossed. We got to look at this. Hang on. Let's go to Wikipedia real quick. The grossing of Get Out. And it's going to blow my mind. It has grossed 173 million in the US. Canada, what's the worldwide gross is 204 million. Off a $4.5 million budget. I mean, Jesus, that is how you run a studio, folks, right there. And it was interesting and cool and unique. And good Lord, the guy from Key and Peele is talented as hell. And so
who directed it? Yeah, Jordan
and wrote it.
Jordan Peele, right? Yeah, and wrote it.
Jesus, go see that. Rent it when it comes out. Like
and see it. I think you should see it like with a group of friends. I'm a pretty I'll even go. Yeah. I go to a lot of movies on my own. Definitely watch a lot of movies in my house on my own. But like that one, I don't know if you could get your friends to shut up throughout it. Great, like in a dark room with your friends.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I think we could probably skip down to Spider-Man. Homecoming.
Yeah, well, I have a John Wick Chapter 2 in here.
Oh, which we're all out of order. This is crazy.
That's okay. Let's just shout that out real quick. I have heard good things about the first John Wick. I need to see it. I'm assuming the second one is equally good. So looking forward to catching up with that sometime in the future.
Yeah, same here. Spider-Man Homecoming.
I mean, this is, if there's any movie that's gonna outdo Guardians of the Galaxy's box office grosses, it's probably gonna be this.
God, do we not have spider fatigue at this point?
I do. Thank you. I do. But apparently America, it's like it collectively has just wiped its memory. All geek cultures just went, no, those didn't happen. This is the only one that ever existed.
It was so smart the way they reintroduced him in Civil War.
Yeah.
And hopefully we're not going to have any stupid origin story. Hopefully it's picking up like right where, we left off at Civil War, which it, looks like it from the trailers. That's the only thing that will like really do it in for me if I have to sit through another origin story, like I'm done.
We should see if Uncle Ben has been cast. That will tell us everything we need to know.
I am there for Marissa Tomei as Aunt Bay.
Aunt Bay. Oh,
as long as she wants to play that role, I want to see Marissa Tomei in it. But yeah,
I'm actually there for Michael Keaton. That dude has been on my faves list.
A winged super person in 3 movies, four movies now, 2 Batmans, Birdman, and this.
The Vulture. He's one of those actors who he still has like some of his like 80s panache, you know, just like his way of, but he's such a damn good actor now. He can almost merge those things effortlessly. So he's giving like a really great performance in a comic book movie where he has to affect a bit of a thing. But I'm like, I just want to see how that works, because he might be. I never thought I'd give a shit about the Vulture, like ever. I'm just like, as soon as they said that was the villain before they cast him, I was like, dude, why? Well, and I'm looking at this going, man, it might be good. He might make me like the Vulture.
I mean, for as much shit as we could pile on all the Spider-Man movies, whose biggest sin is they keep telling the same story and watering it down. The villains in the Sam Raimi movies were actually really great. Like Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. That was he was so incredible in that movie. I remember that movie. I was like, that's how you do a superhero movie. Spider-Man 2. I always forget to shout out Spider-Man 2 when talking about like the best superhero movies. I always go which makes Spider-Man 3 so utterly shocking, which is basically the same problem with X-Men 3, which was X2 was so amazing. But also Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin. I mean, I love Willem Dafoe. They had awesome villains. So Michael Keaton, I love everything he does. I'm excited for him.
On that note, of all the comic book, the mainstream comic book hero franchises, the villains that have always been the most interesting to me have been the Spider-Man villains. Like I'm waiting to see. I want to see the cool sort of grittier version of Mysterio. And in fact, on our Pinterest page, there is a kind of concept art for that very thing. And it looks almost like an evil Daft Punk kind of character. And I'm like, imagine with today's technology, Mysterio could be really freaking cool and menacing. And like, just, if they can make it to that with this Spider-Man, I'll be so happy.
He does have a true rogues gallery. Like I do like that about Spider-Man. I'm not really into Spider-Man as a hero. I think he's kind of an idiot, but if they could make him like, I hope it's not all Tony Stark gadgets. And I'm echoing something someone else said, which they said, and I was like, oh, I totally agree with that. When he flies over the helicopter, I was like, oh shit. Yeah. There's a suit that Tony Stark gives Peter Parker in the comic book version of Civil War, and to me, it was just like, ugh, come on. He's like a robot spider, like an Iron Spider suit. There's literally a character called Iron Spider.
Yeah, well, that's from the comics, though. I mean, that's from
that's what I mean. So, Spider-Man, I think, works for me when he is a flawed human boy who is fighting, flawed human villains who are not all like super, super powerful trying to destroy the world and stuff. Okay. So
I like that.
Yeah. Like Dark Tower. Were you a reader of this?
No, I have had.
It's Idris Elba, right?
Yeah, it's Idris Elba. It's freaking Matthew McConaughey as a villain, which just makes my heart sore. Like, same thing with like make Jodie Foster a villain for the rest of her career. Make Matthew McConaughey a villain. Like, it perfectly cast. I have had many, many friends describe Dark Tower to me in different ways, so I feel like I have a basic understanding. What's cool about the movie is that it takes place in continuity, but isn't based on a book per se. It kind of drops itself in a way. Man. And they were originally Ron Howard was originally going to do a series for Showtime or HBO, and then movies to go along with that. And it was all going to fit into continuity. And because the way the Dark Tower is structured as like a narrative is it was meant to be Stephen King's sort of newest work, but also a work that literally combines every world of every book he's ever written. So like The Shining exists alongside The Green Mile, exists alongside, anything else like Carrie. Like the Dark Tower is meant to kind of combine all that stuff in a way that made sort of sense in a shared universe kind of way.
Well, that's such a smart thing to do, to have the movie just be part of that extended universe and not a retelling of something.
Exactly. So, I mean, the fact they cast Idris Elba as like the gunslinger, just that was a bold choice. I feel like this is going to be it's coming out when Inception came out. So it's that early-ish August release. Mm-hmm. Which is interesting because it's been 7 years since Inception. I feel like it's going to be that sort of like dark horse surprise hit because it's not getting a lot of mainstream buzz and press because everything's just drowning it out. There haven't been many trailers. I think they're intentionally kind of going, let's just put it here. We know people are going to show up, and I think this is going to be a movie that goes well beyond August and just keeps having legs.
Interesting. Yeah. I have no interest in it, but I don't know anything about it. So,
well, maybe we'll one of us will see it and turn.
Let's talk about another movie that I have no interest in, Baywatch.
I don't either, but you know what? This looks really freaking fun. You throw The Rock and Zac Efron in a movie together. You can't go wrong. Like Zac Efron in a sort of
go wrong.
Yeah, but I liked, what was that, Neighbors, the Neighbors 1 and 2, like he's great in that. Like when he has when he's kind of like a douchey sort of nemesis, he works really well. And then The Rock is just, you can't hate that guy right now. So I wouldn't fault anybody for going to see Baywatch. I'm sure it will have its moments of interest, but there you go.
Or you can come watch Fast 8 with me.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
We should mention not that. I was going to skip over Granite Mountain. I don't know anything about that one.
Watch me good. Miles Teller's in it, so there's that. Wait a second. Whoa. Granite Mountain stars Miles Teller, Josh Brolin, Taylor Kitsch, and Jeff Bridges? What? What is this even about? A drama based on the elite crew of men who battled a wildfire in Prescott, Arizona in 2013 that claimed the lives of 19 of their members. This seems like one of the best movies of the early 90s that they just found in a vault, and they're like, oh shit, we better put it out. Like, it has that, it's probably great, but I would not have put this out. And when is it coming out? Oh, October 2017. Oh, well, maybe that's okay.
Maybe it'll be like, maybe we'll know something about it.
Yeah, there we go.
We should definitely talk about these two next movies that are on my list, at least. Probably the next big movie that I'm ready for is Wonder Woman.
Oh, God, yes.
I'm really excited about this.
Don't disappoint me.
It did look like for a couple weeks that they weren't advertising it. We hadn't seen trailer updates in a while, and I was getting worried that maybe the studio thought this is not going to do well and we don't want to throw marketing money at it, but they've definitely ramped that up in response to the outcry. And
I think they were just trying to stay out of the way of Guardians of the Galaxy.
And that's a really good point too, is that, they knew that was just going to mow over whatever came out this week. So, but I'm stoked for this. It looks really great.
I saw Guardians of the Galaxy in 3D as well, and seeing this trailer, the latest and last one before that.
Yeah.
And it's weird. Online, there's like a version of the same trailer, but it has like this weird song by some modern rock band I'm not aware of, for it. So the one I saw had this killer, just very epic, mythical score, and at the very last line, that freaking Hans Zimmer guitar riff kicks in, and the whole theater's like, yes!
I know what you're saying.
Yes! I shed a tear. I was just so excited. I'm like, oh God.
You said this 2 years ago, I think, and I think you were so right to call it this way. I hope this is what happens. I hope Wonder Woman, as you said, becomes the Captain America of the DCU.
Yep.
That's what needs to happen. She needs to be the anchor. Batman is like the Iron Man of that universe. Superman can be the Hulk of that universe, or the Thor or something. She needs to be the center.
Yep.
And if you're a Gal Gadot fan, check out Fast and Furious 6 because she's really awesome.
That's right.
But yeah, I'm excited about this movie. And as part of that, the Justice League also comes out this year, which still hasn't registered in my brain that we will see 2 Wonder Woman movies this year, which is just so awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And again, going back to that same note, it looks like in all the Justice League promotional stuff, she's obviously co-leading with Batman, but it almost seems like she's more, he's almost kind of like second to her, which, if they play that out that way, I just
can't tell you how much I love that suggestion of yours that she become the Captain America, because I think Batman's only going to succeed in this new DCU where it's Ben Affleck if he can kind of go off the rails a little bit. He should not be the moral center of that universe, And I really hope that happens. I think that would be the smart move. I've seen how many trailers of Justice League, and I do not know a damn thing about Cyborg. I know him from reading the Teen Titans comics,
or watching the cartoon if you're me.
But I don't. I get that he's been a one of the main members for years in the comics, but I don't know. Do you have an attachment to him because of that cartoon?
I really like the character in the cartoon. What they're doing in the movie seems to be not that. Okay, so yeah. I don't, I think of the most, I'm going to make 2 big, bold predictions right now. I think Wonder Woman's going to perform very, very solidly, but then as the summer progresses, be buzzed more and more and more. And we're going to get to Justice League, and Justice League is not going to do as well as Wonder Woman. And there's going to be a drastic priority switch on making all things like it's going to be, it's going to be Wonder Woman is to X-Men and what's going to happen between now and 2 years from now is they're going to reprioritize Warner Brothers film divisions on making the best goddamn Wonder Woman movie ever after this. And the next Wonder Woman movie is going to be as good as X2. It's going to be, and we're just going to forget Justice League ever happened. And it's just going to be her. And maybe they'll pull off a Green Lantern thing in the future, but that will be, she'll be their last straw that will actually succeed.
Man, we could talk about DCU. There's another whole episode, or at least the cinematic universe. Like, we were both, as guarded as we were about our appreciation for Batman versus Superman, we were both in love with the fact that Wonder Woman had such a large role in it.
Yes,
which definitely fixed a lot of the chemistry issues. Even though, as Wonder Woman, she didn't have a lot of chemistry between them, but it was nice to see Bruce interacting with Diana in those early scenes. That's really what DC, in my opinion, what DC movies should be, is like they should all be sort of solo films where the others guest star in them.
Yeah.
They don't need an Avengers, and they've said it, they've cast it so seriously that I don't think they're going to be able to get like a good balance of people. I mean, the Justice League looks just like the Suicide Squad. Neither one of them looks like a group of good guys. And at least when I picture the Justice League, a lot of times, like there's a really goofy version. Is it in maybe an All-Star Batman that what's his name wrote, but where Plastic Man is in it. And you're wow. Oh yeah, you have to have some total idiot, like some clown in the Justice League to kind of defray all the seriousness.
Well, that's apparently what Barry Allen's going to be.
Barry Allen. But imagine Justice League that's like Green Arrow, Flash, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Aquaman, or something, and you don't have the big two guys in it.
Yeah,
it's so unbalanced. I think when you have these three like huge names, like I don't want Aquaman and Cyborg to be sidelined because they seem like the most interesting characters to this. So.
Yeah, well, especially Aquaman. I will say this though, and looking at these posters on Google, I just had a sort of daydream. Imagine if nothing had ever come out, like that Superman, the Man of Steel never came out. V didn't come out. Like nothing came out, and the first thing we see, after again, and pretend all the Marvel stuff happened as it did, you just see that poster as the beginning of the DCCU. Like they start with her and they build, like how badass would that be? And it starts with her and they're like, oh shit, this is working. Let's do a Flash movie next. So you're intentionally, it's just what you said, but in terms of the release strategy, they don't even put out a Batman or Superman movie until after the first Justice League happens. Then they spin off and now here's Batman, but they build it like with all the others first. And then the entire time you're like, we know Batman and Superman. That could have really worked out for them. Because then by the time you get to Justice League, then you add like the cherries on top, and it can't do anything but make a $1 billion in its opening weekend.
Yeah. Now it is interesting that this, which I just confirmed, is that Justice League is coming out in November, so they're definitely missing the summer stuff and aiming for that like Thanksgiving weekend stuff. So
before they get destroyed by Star Wars.
Yeah, I do want to mention one other superhero movie. Which kind of plays into all that, which is the Lego Batman movie, which came out in February, which I went and saw in the theater by myself. And it was like Guardians of the Galaxy. I enjoyed every second of that movie.
I need to rent that. I never got to the theaters.
I mean, the Lego movie itself is great, and Batman, Will Arnett's Batman is in that a lot. But in Lego Batman, where he just gets to run wild, it is so good. I mean, just like the jokes coming at you constantly, the look of it is so cool. I don't know. That thing was like everything I wanted to see in a superhero movie in Lego form. So yeah, definitely. That's a great 2017 movie that's already digitally available, I guess. So
that's great. That was another March movie. Power Rangers is on my list. I never got to see it. I think it might make a really great rental. I think it was one of those movies where people went in going, oh God, and went out going, hey, that actually strangely worked. Yeah. I mean, they're gonna make another one. It did well enough for that, and it's, at the very least, Elizabeth Banks is the villain. I mean, she just gets to chew every bit of scenery that's in there. It's worth it for that. It's worth it for Bryan Cranston.
Yeah.
It'll be out in rental probably another month or two.
There's another Planet of the Apes movie coming out. For the Planet of the Apes.
I really like what they're doing. I mean, this will be the third one or the fourth one of the current.
I don't even know.
I think it's the third one. It's got Woody Harrelson in it too, which that guy can do no wrong these days. Doing his best Ed Harris impression. I like what they're doing. I just don't. It's kind of like Alien. I just don't care enough about the story. Like everything. They look like well-made, well-acted films. I saw the first two. I was like, these are good. I just don't care. I never quite cared for it. So whatever.
Yeah, same. I'm just not invested at all. Flashing back a second, Ghost in the Shell. We did a whole episode on that, which you can check out if you're interested in my guarded defense of it.
But man, that thing just faded away. Like, you don't hear nothing about it. It was only like 3 weeks ago, barely that.
Yeah, it did. I mean, and we, the only brief thing was I had mentioned like maybe this wasn't a movie meant for American audiences.
Yeah, true.
But I don't think they expected the punishment that they got from American audiences. I think they probably thought like they'll cruise to 100 million with American audiences. I don't know numbers. I'm just making that up. But and then overseas would do this crazy business, which is they just didn't do anything in the US and they did decent numbers overseas. So like if you look at the box office mojo, they're over their budget, but in Hollywood accounting that doesn't necessarily mean they made money. So I don't know. If you like sci-fi, it holds together a lot better than a lot of other sci-fi. If you, but as I pointed out in our episode, it's not like a great cast of people where they all interact in a really wonderful way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a big point. Like, Scarlett Johansson as the protagonist there was just not enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and obviously, not to dismiss all the like problematic changing the Japanese protagonist to a white lady.
Whitewashing.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, that we talked about that in our episode. And many other people have. I'm pushing ahead because there's a bunch of like kids movies and horror movies.
We missed one. We missed one that's on my list right now. Yeah. The sequel to The Ring, Rings.
Oh, okay.
Has it even directed? Are any of the same people even in it? Let's see. No, it's just new cast and stuff. So I'm sure it's fine. If you're,
I'm sure it's fine.
I'm sure it'll give me nightmares. So
a log line.
There we go. I'm sure
it's fine.
I'm sure it's fine. You know what that reminds me of?
The quote I want. This podcast needs to be a quote on a movie poster. Rings. I'm sure it's fine. Taylor of the Todd and Taylor Show.
Do you know what that reminds me of? And I mentioned this before in another episode.
Please make this poster. Put it on Bear Network.
The DVD for the Kurt Russell movie Captain Ron simply had one quote, and it was like, funny! ! And like it was some dude who I'd never heard of, some newspaper I never knew existed. And I was like, is that all you could find? Just simply funny, like random person. Oh, that reminds me of that.
Which in their review was like, it's a funny story how I ended up seeing this piece of shit movie.
I actually like that movie.
And they just pulled funny out of it.
Dude, Tom Middleton from Silicon Valley had a man crush on Kurt Russell and actually met him on the Corbin Show. And first movie he referenced of being a fan of was Captain Ron. And Kurt Russell just starts laughing like, "Oh shit, I made that, didn't I?"
That's awesome.
Like that happened. Well, what's next on yours?
I wanted to skip ahead of those. There's a couple cartoons on the list to a movie that you were surely excited about, which is Kingsman: The Golden Circle.
Oh yes.
Now at this point we have seen 3 trailers, if you're counting, because there's one that they put out a few weeks ago, which is just like a different scene per frame of this trailer, and it's like 30 seconds long or something. Then the studio themselves put out the slow-mo version of that, so you could catch all the like Easter eggs and references. And then you probably saw this before Guardians. I did see a full-length trailer for Kingsman. So I mean, how excited are you on this on a scale of 9 to 10?
I knew that trailer. I'd seen it on YouTube before I went to see Guardians. But second the green sort of like this preview is coming up thing fades away, and that beginning, like all Colin Farrell has to say is Eggsy, and it's like dun dun dun.
Oh my god!
Like, and I mean, within 3 seconds, I was shaking. I was so excited. I love the original Kingsman so goddamn much that like this is if this is in any way disappointing, I believe I'll have the objectivity to see that, but god damn it, it may mess with me for a couple of weeks. So.
I wish I'd done a tiny bit of homework and figured out in which episodes we have talked about Kingsman before. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
Just some tidbits to throw out there, which we won't get into, but you can go look through our back episodes and try to find this. I was in a Kingsman panel at Comic-Con like years ago and saw them talk about it. And then Taylor, but I never saw the movie, even though I was excited about it. And then Taylor really turned me onto this. He's brought up Kingsman a number of times. You made me watch it when I was in Denver one time.
Yeah.
The morning that I was flying out. And so I didn't even get to finish the movie, and I got back to my house and like rented it in order to finish the movie.
Nice.
So you have definitely been a huge I almost called you an exponent of this movie, but you are a great supporter of Kingsman. So yes. I'm glad you're getting a sequel so soon.
Yes. Oh, me too.
There's one on my list that I'm excited about, which is it's odd that I'm excited about, which is the Valerian movie, and it has some subtitle that I can't even pronounce. And I think City of a Thousand Planets, not pronounced, but I didn't even know it. Yeah. I think we mentioned this on a previous podcast. I'm interested because it is Luc Besson, the French director who did Fifth Element, which is 20 years old right now.
Isn't that crazy?
But also, I don't. It looks just as zany as The Fifth Element, and it is such a cool vision of a sci-fi movie. And when I first saw a picture, a poster, something, I was like, it's going to be like all those other kid sci-fi movies that have come out lately, and I don't know what changed my mind, But
do you know what I thought when I saw the trailer? I thought, just like Fifth Element, like it very heavily influenced by Moebius. Who actually designed on Fifth Element, but it just had a very nice graphic novel kind of feel to it. Like if you're a fan of like, really artsy comics and stuff like we are, like I think this is definitely our cup of tea.
Yeah.
Which I know nothing about the story. I never read it or anything. It's based on the books and stuff. So I would be going in completely fresh, which I would embrace. So next on my list are just those two animated movies. Don't have to say much about it. Despicable Me 3. I didn't realize we were already up to 3. And then Cars 3, which every piece of promotional material I've seen is either a car flipping over, a car bursting into fire, a car crashing into something, and that's it. Like no faces or anything. It's been the most bizarre rollout of a movie I've ever seen.
I never saw any of those. I'm a decently big Pixar fan. I'm a really huge fan of the Pixar movies that I'm a fan of, you know. But yeah, I'm just not. I don't care about the cars.
Don't care. I don't also care about Triple X 3, Return of Xander Cage.
Yeah. Another franchise that I believe Vin Diesel walked away from and then returned.
Yeah. Right.
This guy has balls.
I think Riddick is the only one he didn't do that with.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's the sad part about this movie is every time I see a trailer, I think it's a Fast 8 trailer. So it's very difficult. I've never understood the appeal of these movies. It's not like Vin Diesel's stretching at all. It almost seems like his sort of like begrudging Bruce Willis franchise. He just does to, he's like, I guess.
Are there any other big movies on your list, or can we speed round through whatever else is left?
Let's speed round. I'll just because I have a couple that we've skipped by that are on mine that probably aren't yours.
Oh, okay.
There's one called Seven Witches. No idea. First Fight.
Fist Fight, which is Ice Cube and Charlie Day. I've seen a couple of trailers on Twitter.
Okay.
That's how they're promoting it.
One called Baby Driver.
So that's an Edgar Wright movie.
Oh, well, shoot. I should not dismiss that. Oh, man, it's got Ansel Elgort, our new Han Solo.
That's who that is. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Lily James. Oh, Jamie Foxx. But Kevin Spacey. Well, god dang.
Yeah.
I should watch this trailer. 4 stars. Oh, it's 5 stars on Rotten Tomatoes. Obviously, it hasn't come out yet. All right, well, maybe I should keep an eye on that.
Maybe
The Space Between Us. It already came out. That already happened. Captain Underpants.
DGAF.
Sleepless. Who's in this?
No.
Jamie Foxx. Yeah, no. A Wimpy Kid. A Wimp Will Rise. Is this the sequel to Diary of a Wimpy Kid?
I know. Actually, I believe it is. This is called. Wait, is there already a Diary of a Wimpy Kid? I thought this is what this is.
I thought this is. Who knows?
Oh my God! If this is a sequel, that's terrible. I did see like a preview for it before The Circle, I believe.
Oh, really? They put. Why would? Really?
I think that's where it was. I can't imagine it was before Guardians or Logan or something.
But it's a kids movie. What kids are like in Circle? Like, yes, I really appreciate it. And then it's like, hey, kid, sitting there. That's such a weird time. That's everything. And then my thing just ends. So what else do you have on yours?
The only thing I have is that, and I'm just not even sure of the news on this, is that there is. In October, there is slated a, quote, Cloverfield movie.
Ooh.
To open October 27th. And yeah, so we know that this weird thing happened with 10 Cloverfield Lane, where that movie had a different title and then was retitled almost sort of at the last minute. And people went, oh, holy shit, it's tied into that universe. And so this one, they're kind of going the opposite way. And I guess there's news out there that a Cloverfield movie is coming. We just don't know what it's actually going to be called when it's released. And there's rumor that it may be called The God Particle.
I'm sort of excited by the fact that like they're doing with this what I'd hope they do with Stranger Things and making it like a little anthology sort of thing.
Yeah, that's
really
a better way of putting it. I called it the same universe, but I think anthology is a better way to say it. So that was really it for me.
Which one of these? Okay, of all the things on this list, give me your. I guess the one I was going to say three, but let's say one. What's the one thing that you will absolutely not miss first night if you can help it? Like the thing that you're most excited about, like you're planning your day around.
Well, boy, you made it really tough for me. Ragnarok is the one that jumped to mind, but Wonder Woman is coming up in a couple of weeks, and I absolutely know that I will be there for Wonder Woman in whatever the largest format it can possibly be seen in. So
nice. Good.
And that's another one that like I will see it opening weekend, and then a week later I'm going to see it with my dad.
Nice.
So I've turned him into a huge IMAX 3D fan.
Yeah.
Those movies. So I look forward to that.
I would say for me, it's going to be no question. Kingsman: The Golden Circle.
Yeah,
definitely. I mean, I'm definitely into Wonder Woman too. I can't wait. But like my whole week, I will be so excited leading up.
It's hard not to say The Last Jedi, but I almost see that as like next year. It's so far off, and it's not really that far off now. It's 6
Let's be honest. Going to Star Wars movies is almost like our national duty. So it's kind of like I'm enjoying doing it, but it almost feels like we, that's just a foregone conclusion. Like, we will all, as a people, go and see this and talk about it. So.
Yes. Well, we have talked a long time about movies, but I hope that satisfies our friend Brian.
Brian.
If we missed anything that you want to talk about, or if you want us to go in depth on any of these, please hit us up on Twitter. How can people find you on Twitter, Taylor?
They can find me. I'm at Taylor Trask, TaylorTrask. How about you, sir?
I'm at Hey Todd A. And where can they find this podcast?
Well, we are on a number of different places. If you listen to us on iTunes, on your podcast app, we're newly on Stitcher across the board, all our shows. So definitely if you're on
search
Stitcher,
for our shows on Stitcher. Yeah,
Stitcher on your website. You can go to the website or you can go on the app. We're also on Google Play. We're also on Pocket Casts. And pretty much any other app outside of that will pull those feeds in. And then if you want to go to SoundCloud, we are soundcloud.com/their network. And I guess there's one other place, Todd.
You can also find us at their.network. That is our domain. Go to that in a browser and find us. As we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, Taylor and I also do American Gods Cast, which is a podcast about American gods. Taylor is a reader of the book and a big fan of Neil Gaiman. I am new to this whole world. So it's sort of the reverse of Wednesday in Westeros, where I'm a big reader of the books and Taylor's not. Catch American Gods Cast every week during the season. You can find that on all the platforms that Taylor mentioned. Just search for American Gods Cast on all those apps and locations. And we will just see you in the next episode of American Gods Cast. Till then, bye.
Bye.